How about them Cowboys? We're talking about it next on the PHLY Eagles podcast with Fran Duffy and Zach Berman in studio ahead of the Eagles-Cowboys game on Sunday. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365. You know it's never ordinary with our friends at Bet365. How's everybody doing?
Excited for the show.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's Eagles-Cowboys week, so we'll certainly have a lot to talk about today in the show. Other than that, not a lot to talk about on my end.
I do have a thing. I got a thing. I want to talk to the sickos. If other people want to watch or listen, that's great. But I want to talk to the sickos. I do the show for the sickos. Selfishly, I'm glad that Jamie and Rich were able to shepherd yesterday's show because I don't think it would have been a very good one if I was hosting, given the freshness of the reopened wound. A day later, I imagine, like many of you, I still don't feel so great, but at least there is resolve. I don't have any wisdom here, but I do think you are free to feel however you feel. It's okay to be angry at the Eagles for doing something so obviously self-defeating as to waste an injured reserve designated to return spot on Albert Okwuegbunam, instead of using it on Trevor Keegan, who has not been active for a game this season, thereby paving the way to losing Dylan McMahon for no reason at all, other than just being cruel and stupid. It's okay to be dumbfounded that management could do something so clearly against its own self-interest. It's okay to feel betrayed by the people in the front office who made this move and to want to retreat into a bubble with only the people who also recognize how dangerous of a roster decision this was to make. Maybe the Casey Toohill waving was more reality shattering for you, and this was only just the depressing, inevitable next step. Maybe given the Eagles' standing, you feel insulated enough that a move like this won't really amount to much in the end, but it's also okay to be terrified about what this pattern of decision-making could mean for the roster moving forward. I was talking to somebody yesterday who also cares a lot about the Albert O release. And they made a point that I thought was helpful, but some might think is depressing. Through this job, I have been privileged enough to travel and meet people from around the league, Commanders fans, Jets fans, Bengals fans. These are good people. Really smart football fans who love being fans of their team and love their communities, but also make no apologies about the fact that their front offices are corrupt entities whose main priorities are to enrich themselves and often actively try to make things more difficult for the fan base. That's okay. They still find a way to keep on keeping on. And it's very likely that where Eagles fans are now, we can lay to rest the idea of Eagles exceptionalism. And yet life will not stop. We all have to find ways to cope with the state of the Eagles roster. Maybe you try to cope by looking for a way to volunteer with the Dylan McMahon fan club in your neighborhood. Maybe you have the means to look for a new fan base entirely. Maybe you try to create a time machine to warn Howie Roseman about the repercussions of his actions. Maybe you just need a distraction. And that is where we will try to come in. Absolutely no promises, but I think it's fair to say we will be talking a little bit less about Alberto on the show moving forward. We will try to use this playground as a getaway try to take the frivolous seriously while poking fun at the haughty. We will tend to our garden. And so, Stone Cold Newsman, what's the latest from the Eagles practice field?
Yeah, I'm eager to share that. It was a crowded injury report yesterday. Some notable names there. Now, the Eagles had a walkthrough. It was not a full practice. So the report was an approximation, but nonetheless, certainly positive signs and some things to monitor as well. We'll start with the good news, and that's A.J. Brown was out on the practice field. He's officially would have been limited in practice. Bo and I were watching him run routes, and he was running routes out there. He was looking good. Like I don't want to say he's definitely going to play, but it was certainly a sign of progress for A.J. Brown. Darius Slay was out there as well. Dallas Goedert was a full participant, or he would have been a full participant in practice. I think it's safe to say, barring a setback this week, Dallas Goedert will play in Dallas the third consecutive season that he returns from injury in Dallas. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, the players who would not have practiced, DeVonta Smith would have been absent with a hamstring injury. Nolan Smith would have been absent with a groin injury. Ben Van Sumeren is in the concussion protocol. So DeVonta was out there. We'll kind of see how he progresses. Practice is going on as we speak.
No helmet for DeVonta.
No helmet, yeah. So we'll see if he's out there today. It could just be a matter of managing him. The limited players, that was the biggest list of all. Now, some of these guys, it was based on rest. Like, it was notable that Jalen Hurts did not participate in the portion of the walkthrough that we saw. Speaking to Jalen afterwards, he said this was rest. It was the coach's call. He's doing what he's told. I kind of got the impression Jalen wanted to practice. He's kind of listening to them there. Saquon Barkley, that's rest related. Now, the offensive line, it was notable seeing the players who were absent on the offensive line.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so Micah Becton, Fred Johnson, and Cam Jurgens. With Micah Becton, it's an ankle injury. Fred Johnson, it's a knee injury. Cam Jurgens, it's a wrist injury. I'm sorry, it's a wrist. It's a wrist injury.
That's funny. Huh?
Yes. Fred Johnson, we saw that happen in the game, and I think of all the players, most concern will be for Fred Johnson. Although there seemed to be some optimism in the locker room that he could be out there Sunday. But eagle-eyed Bo Wulf noticed that. So I thought Tyler Steen was taking reps at left tackle. It was actually him taking reps at left guard. And the reason why that was confusing is because Landon Dickerson was taking reps at center. So you saw Tyler Steen next to Landon Dickerson, and my initial thought was left tackle, left guard. It was actually left guard center. They were doing combo blocks together. Jack Driscoll would have been the left tackle. He went in there a little bit later.
It was very interesting. So if all three of those guys were out, it would have been left to right. Driscoll, Tyler Steen at left guard, Landon Dickerson at center, Nick Gates at right guard, and then
Lane Johnson
at right tackle, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Is that how you would have forecast that?
Not originally, until we knew that Dickerson was
from a couple
actually
weeks
the
ago.
backup center from a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And then I guess it's interesting that even though Steen has played more on the right as a pro, in that situation where they have him and Gates, they would put Steen on the left, which is a little interesting. But, because you said like Fred Johnson is maybe the least likely of those guys to actually play, it is notable, I think, that it was Driscoll at left tackle and not Steen. Or Kennard, and Kennard was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's Kennard took some work at right guard as well. And so perhaps it's because they don't want to make a change in the middle of a game. They don't want Steen focusing on tackle if he's going to end up playing guard, that kind of thing. It did surprise. Now, it sounded afterwards like Becton expected to play.
Yep.
I didn't speak to Cam Jurgens yesterday.
Expecting
Becton, correct. I didn't speak to Cam Jurgens. We'll see what happens there. I think if you would have been limited, it's probably a sign that you have a good chance of playing. I think the caveat in all of this is that they have this quick turnaround next week against Washington, right? So if there's a player who they might be on the fence on, perhaps they hold it back knowing that there's not practice next week. Perhaps they're just being cautious because of that. Typically, when they have an injury report this crowded, the Eagles like going with the walkthroughs because you're not really getting the full practice anyways. I think that the best news out of yesterday was A.J. Brown, Darius Slay, and Dallas Goedert. And I spoke to Dallas Goedert quite a bit.
What did Goedert say?
Yeah, Goedert said that he kind of was hoping to play last week, they were a little bit cautious with him, but he's expecting to play this week. He says he needs to see how he gets through the week, but he certainly made it sound like he's going to play. And Jalen Hurts, like I said, Jalen didn't sound particularly enthused about missing practice.
About Goddard coming back?
About missing practice. Although, to your point about Goddard, they've been awfully successful without Goddard. If you just look at there's a causation correlation here. I wouldn't conflate those two, but that
would be funny if they did.
Yeah. I should also say on the limited list would have been Bryce Huff, who's now on the injury report with the wrist injury. That wrist injury was not on the injury report last week. I asked Nick Sirianni specifically about Bryce Huff's role. He said Bryce Huff's going to be in the mix.
Yep.
And so it really doesn't seem like Bryce Huff is atop that depth chart. He's just in the mix with Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat. But this was interesting. Nick Sirianni said, and they want to get they want to get Jalen Hunt in there as well. Jalen Hunt's coming on in practice. So
he volunteered that on his own.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So I do wonder if as the season progresses, we see more of Jalen Hunt.
Yeah, obviously a lot of names there overall. I did think that was notable that he brought up Jalen Hunt. My guess is that the injury with Huff after Tuesday, all of a sudden that's in the rearview mirror. But I think when you look at the long list of names, who are the ones that you're legit like, all right, I don't know of the key names. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to be able to go Sunday.
Fred Johnson would be the one that I would watch.
Yeah.
Now, Nolan Smith didn't practice with the groin injury. I didn't get a chance to speak to Nolan.
Yeah.
I don't know there. I would say A.J. Brown and Fred Johnson are the two guys that I'm watching particularly closely.
Got it.
All right. You want to talk some Cowboys?
Sure.
I mean, speaking of injuries, nobody's more banged up than them at important positions.
Yeah, look, this is a team that has not been very good for the majority of this season, and the injuries. I mean, they started from Jump Street with them. I mean, they lost Deron Bland before the season began. Their starting corner, who was an All-Pro last season for them, and along the way they lost a bunch of their defensive linemen. Parsons goes out mid-season. He looks like he's primed to go back. I just saw that he's in full pads today, so it looks like he's gearing up to go on Sunday. But they're missing players on both sides of the ball, and none bigger than Dak Prescott, who is certainly out for this game. And it looks like he might be heading for a stint on the IR, but that remains to be seen.
Okay, and so the Eagles have seen Cooper Rush before. And yet you made the incredibly deranged decision this morning to go back and watch all of Cooper Rush's dropbacks?
I mean, it didn't take that long, just to make sure, like, all right, we want to get an idea of what this kid looks like.
I love that, Fran.
I love that. I was having a bad week.
Well, I had to make it worse.
Wait, by the way, if I can just do a quick plug, Fran has a piece on allphly.com right now, the opponent preview. It's a highlight for me every week because it really breaks down everything you need to know about the team. Check that out on allphly.com.
I know a bunch of new diehards in the last week or so, so make sure you go take advantage of that. So, all right, so with Cooper Rush, what I would say is this is a guy that in 2022 he stepped into the lineup. This was when the Eagles last saw him, was during that Super Bowl season in 2022. They beat him at Lincoln Financial Field. And when you look at Rush, he came in and he executed Kellen Moore's offense pretty high level back to that point. They won 4 straight games with him under center. He did a really good job of just playing within the scheme.
Man, I don't remember that at all. They won 4 in a row.
They won 4, right? Well, that was like a big thing because is Dak Prescott really the guy? Look at this kid. He's coming in and he's running the system really well.
It's good for Kellen Moore, too. It boosted his stock until
it didn't. Yeah.
And he got immediately fired.
Until Mike McCarthy's like, give me the team back.
Yeah. Which, did you hear his quotes about that this week?
McCarthy's? I did not.
He basically said, if I were doing it over, I probably wouldn't have allowed Kellen. Essentially, I'm putting words in his mouth, but essentially, I wouldn't have let Kellen just run his offense. I would have run my offense from Jump Street, which I thought that was interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was
not I wouldn't have let him go.
No,
really?
It was as a new coach coming in, you want to run your system.
That's
yeah. So
but I think that was part of the deal when he was hired, right?
Yes,
exactly.
Kellen Moore,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, I can say the Kellen Moore tweets that I put out this week haven't got any traction in Philly as much, but it's being eaten up a bit in Dallas. I think this is a bigger story in Dallas than it is in Philly.
In what way? How are the fans reacting? How are the fans in Dallas reacting?
What?
I think the people in Philly might be a little more distracted than the people in Dallas when your tweets come to mind. That's all.
I'm staying away from that. There's a lot of commentary there. So because I think it was polarizing when they let Kellen Moore go.
Sure.
Kellen Moore was popular for a period of time there in Dallas. Now I don't know how well it ended because his teams didn't necessarily perform in the postseason. Although, they did have success. They did have success last year without him.
Yeah.
But Kellen Moore was like he was on the verge of being a head coach at one point. It seemed like, right? And he passed up some primo opportunities in college to stay with the Cowboys. He was a player there. He was there for 8 years, I believe. I mean, Tony Romo was calling this game. Kellen Moore was Tony Romo's backup with the Cowboys, right? And think about how long Tony Romo's been out of the league. So I think the Kellen Moore name carries a little more traction in Dallas than it does in Philly.
The other thing McCarthy said was that he could see watching Kellen with the Chargers last year. He's like, yeah, that's a lot of what we did in Dallas together. And then this year in Philly, it's much more of what we've seen in Philly in the past. Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting nugget there.
You think that's like a chess move, not a checkers move? He's saying that to foment the idea that this is not Kellen's offense?
Right. It's like the John Schneider thing where he lobbed the Drew Lock. Oh, Drew Lock, he left us to be a starter in New York.
Yeah,
just to throw a bomb at the New York media. But no, I think, look.
That would be the coolest thing Mike McCarthy's ever done.
Yeah, I would.
Besides spending a day at Pro Football Focus,
the
right?
Most media analytics, yes.
Mojo moment.
All right, so Cooper Rush. Executed the offense really well. When he is kept clean, I thought that he did a really good job of just kind of going through the progressions, letting the offense play for him, and even going back and watching this past week, he played the whole fourth quarter against the Atlanta Falcons in that loss. And this is a guy that looks comfortable in that situation when he's able to be kept clean. Now, when you are able to pressure him early, you get you could fool him with stunts and with blitzes, and you get the defenders in his face early. You speed up his whole process, and he can really get rushed. And I didn't even mean to do that. But you can really rush through that process.
You're like Scott Boras.
Yeah. Well, he can speed that process up, and that's where things can kind of go awry for him a little bit. He can still make some off-platform throws, and he had like a no-look pass stepping up in the pocket last week where he's got some of that to him. But
that is insane sauce in that situation for him.
He's not like a great athlete. His arm, he's kind of a moonshot thrower in terms of him trying to push the ball down the field. He doesn't have a ton of juice to his arm, but he's pretty accurate. He'll navigate a muddy pocket pretty well, but if you can get pressure to him, that's where you can create some of those negative play opportunities.
Okay. And so aside from Cooper Rush, assuming they get CeeDee Lamb back, and if they don't.
Which he's banged up, left the game this past Sunday.
Tough sledding. But is it as simple as that's all they got?
If CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, because he is their pass game. And nearly 50% of the target share when they came back from the bye week against San Francisco a couple weeks ago. It was a little bit lower than that this past week against Atlanta, but that was the theme last year as well. When they got back from the bye week, it was all CeeDee Lamb all the time in the pass game. So an incredibly high target share for him.
And is he still very, very heavily slot?
They move him around a little bit more, but it's a lot of quick game. It's not as much of a vertical offense, and so he's been one of the best yards after catch receivers in football this year. They want to try, and they can be creative with how they move him around. But I would say, in years past, they've done more fun stuff with him in terms of put him in motion and, we're going to get him in the backfield and have him run angle routes out of the backfield. This year, it's a little bit more kind of cut and dry, basic, it's slant flat and, we got kind of run him on shallow crosses and things like that. But you get the ball in his hands, he can be very, very dangerous.
What about from a Vic Fangio standpoint?
Okay.
We've seen him put together different kinds of game plans this season. What kind of game plan do you expect?
Yeah, I would say so. I had a thought when it was Dak Prescott. All right, so I start these notes. I always look at the future opponent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the previous week and start those notes. Yeah, well, so I had all these notes on our.
I love that. I respect it. I'm not. There's no condescension. I love that.
I say that to make the point that I had all of this stuff written down. Right. All right, these would be my keys to the game if it were Dak Prescott. I had to rewrite a bunch of that for if it was Cooper Rush. And so, to me, I think that before, when I look back at what I thought they would do against Dak, I thought it would be similar to what they did against Joe Burrow, where you're going to kind of throw some, a wide variety of things at him from a coverage standpoint, from a pressure standpoint, and kind of keep him on his toes that way. Dak is a very cerebral quarterback. He's really, really good in the pre-snap phase. And so you want to try and mix things up and be unpredictable that way. I don't think you need to do that as much with Cooper Rush. I think here now you want to kind of focus on some pressure. I think that you want to try and see if you can kind of speed that process up. So that might be some of those blitzing looks that we've seen. It might be more zone exchange blitzes with Nakobe Dean rushing and the defensive ends dropping out, trying to get him off of his spot early and then make them roll the dice and see if you can get to him that way.
All right.
Are you expecting Mingo to factor into this game at all?
No. Okay. I would be surprised. Look, they
gave up a fourth. Because you talk about how they have no one outside of Lamb.
Right.
Presumably, when you give up a fourth for a wide receiver, you're expecting that guy to be a starter for you.
Yeah, I would. If this were like 2 or 3 weeks from now, I think so. But I can't imagine on a short week that he's going to have that turnaround to be ready to roll. The other guys in that receiving core that they are throwing the ball to right now, Jalen Tolbert, certainly the tight end, Terrence Ferguson, or Jake Ferguson, rather. When you look at in terms of targets, so CeeDee Lamb has 89 targets. After that, Jake Ferguson has 53. Jalen Tolbert has 44, and then it's another big drop to Kevontae Turpin, who has 27. It's so finely focused to CeeDee Lamb. And then after that, like I said, it's Ferguson, the tight end, and a lot of that is underneath, middle of the field, kind of safety blanket throws. Jalen Tolbert's an outside the numbers vertical guy, and so they'll kind of toss up some vertical routes to him at times, but that's been very mixed results so far this season. And Turpin is the only guy that's got real juice outside of CeeDee Lamb, and he's really dynamic. He's made some plays against the Eagles in the past, so you want to be alert for that kind of stuff with him as well.
Now, Zach, we have some breaking news.
Breaking news?
Yes. News that I believe you have long been calling for.
Donald Parham.
Wait. What?
Go to the Eagles.
Oh, no.
The Eagles signed Taron Jackson, released Will Greer.
Yes.
Have been calling for that?
Yes, you've been
Anti-Will
Will Greer since the day he
Oh,
arrived.
no, Will Greer's an awesome guy. I really enjoy talking to Will Greer. You would like him. He's got an espresso machine in his locker.
Big coffee guy.
Yeah, you like coffee. You like espresso.
I have nothing. I have no problem with Will Greer.
Yeah, neither do I.
You're the one who's been just throwing him over the overboard since the second he got here.
Not at all. And actually, I feel bad for someone in our media corps who I think is working on a Will Greer story this week.
I saw somebody talking to Will Greer for a very long time yesterday. It was funny because at practice, I was thinking to myself, man, I wonder what Will Greer's day-to-day life is like these days. Like, what is he bringing to the table? And there he goes.
It was a question at the Jalen press conference. What's Will Greer providing to the quarterback room, right? And so...
so the Eagles didn't like that sniffing around, and so they...
Once the Eagles see someone talking to reporters, they're like,
they're intense.
You can't be around them.
Can the Cowboys scoop him up before Sunday is the question.
Yeah. Look, he's followed Doug Nussmeier and Kellen Moore around. Actually, Doug Nussmeier recruited him to Florida back in the day, or coached him at Florida back in the day.
Of course, Taron Jackson checks the box of the most important thing for a practice squad player, and that is has been here before.
Has been here before. True. Yeah, I was going to say Donald Parham's not available for him to bring in. That would have been an interesting one. Taron. So okay, I imagine Will Greer is going to be back at some point.
All right,
is my guess. But when you talk about the skill players, man, I'm on one this weekend, like on ripping on draft picks. And I understand you don't hit on every draft pick, right?
Of course.
And I actually think McClay in Dallas has done a really good job.
No question.
He's drafted well. He's found good value. But at the time, I didn't like the Luke Schoonmaker pick, and that one has aged poorly. Literally speaking, he was a 25-year-old tight end who wasn't that productive at Michigan. But when you look at the players who were drafted after him, like the skill guys drafted after him, they could have had some players who could really help out that team. When you look at
that was a pick that was like somebody's kid hit the button in the fantasy draft room. Like that is such a bad pick. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, even if you were expecting to not keep Tony Pollard, you could have taken Devon A-Chain. You could have taken Tank Bigsby. There were some good. There was it was a fertile area for running backs there in that third, fourth round last year, and even wide receivers. some guys who haven't like panned out in a big way, but you're Marvin Mimses of the world. I mean, Cedric Tillman, Tank Dell. Tank Dell's turned into a good player. But it surprises me when you look at the skill players there, and they knew they were in a financial crunch, that Luke Schoonmaker was the guy that they took when Jake Ferguson was an emerging player for them.
Yeah.
You might say that was a bad bet, Zach.
Good segue.
Let's hear a word from our friends. That's right. It's Bet365. They're presenters. They got the A1 slot here because Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. They live stream over 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. Bet365, they pioneered live in-game betting, and today Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. It's that time of the week. I'm going to ask Fran about what's going to happen in the Thursday night football game, and he's going to tell you exactly what it is, and it won't be wrong. What do we got?
I think Ravens. Ravens win this one, and we'll say they cover.
What is the? Do we know the spread?
I had it. Hold on. I'll find it while you finish.
You can look it up on the
no, that's right.
app. You can also do a same game parlay. They got.
I think they're 6-point favorites.
There you go.
All kinds of
or 6.5
special stuff, as well as early payouts. So every day, the good folks at Bet365, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. With over 10,000 boosts each month, they boost specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. Keep an eye out for the custom PHLY bets and boosts that Jamie Lynch puts together every week. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, sorry. There's some news that I will get to in a second here. That's what I was looking up here. But I want to tell you about our very good friends because we are very lucky to have them as a part of this show. And
how long can you keep that? Yeah,
this sort of.
They're such good friends.
This show here today in the studio.
It is a Thursday.
Here on the PHLY. Trust me. Look. I
podcast.
love Empire Today. Okay, and I love Empire Today for what? What's so funny? I love Empire Today for many reasons, but one of the reasons I love Empire Today is that with Empire Today you get shop at home convenience, the right products for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. And trust me, I always enjoy a price match guarantee. I utilized one recently at Best Buy or at a different place. Empire Today. Empire Today. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So of course they have copycats, but they can't beat Empire Today on quality, service, speed. So they advertise low quality products that you simply won't carry. Empire Today won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. But you can keep shopping for floors with simple, curated product selection. And their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. It's kind of like getting dressed in the morning. It's terrific when you have that. When we leave out their selection as important. I was saying decision fatigue is a bad thing, right? And so Empire Today is on top of that. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles, and they service their own warranty. So if an issue arises, just call Empire. They service all their warranties themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's number. That kind of customer service can't be beaten. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off discount. Think about that. $350 off discount when you use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/PHLY for details.
Zach, I'm curious if word of the towel theft in your house has made its way back to Emily.
Yeah. Look, it's that she does laundry a lot, and the towels are often like fresher than I made it seem. I certainly didn't want it to seem like she's washing towels every day, but I'm not cleaning
the thing
myself.
Of you using her towel.
No, I
How's that
understand
made
what
okay?
I understand what you're saying. That was like 1 or 2 times. Like that really wasn't I was not prepared. Like a lot of things, I do a lot of preparation for the show, and I didn't prepare for the towel conversation. And I actually, as I was listening to the show back and watching it back, I don't know how it deviated from me talking about from me talking about your aversion to like doing things ahead of time. Like you know, we were talking about deadlines, and we're talking about you getting dressed for something, like not showering before you had to go out to dinner. Okay, and that turned into an indictment of my shower habits, my towel habits tonight. And someone texted me, "Why do you have to defend yourself for like being fresh?" And I said, on the list of things I don't understand what that show, that's like
You didn't have to
483rd.
defend yourself.
Anyways,
I think you turned it into being defensive.
I
Guilty
just,
conscience.
I'm not. There's no guilty conscience regarding that.
Well, you know who might have a guilty conscience?
Who?
Your boy Dan Morgan. I know you got some shots to fire.
No,
your least favorite general manager. of the
No.
NFL.
I just want to say, according to our friends at practice right now, and our friends being all the beat reporters, DeVonta Smith is practicing. Nolan Smith appears to be practicing. Fred Johnson appears to be practicing. So yesterday, those
Becton.
Micah Becton was not listed among here.
Maybe not expecting Becton.
Micah Becton, let me see here from the beat guys there. Micah Becton returned to practice. And here you go from our friend E.J. Smith. Micah Becton and Leonard Dickerson. My friend E.J. Smith. Micah Becton and Leonard Dickerson just had a foot race to individual drills across 50-plus yards. Safe to say Becton is fine after not practicing yesterday.
It's good color.
I wish I was there.
That would negate Gates.
That would.
Yeah.
Anything else on the Eagles defense preparing for the Cowboys offense?
Yeah, I would say the other big thing, I mean, this run game is terrible. A really, really bad run game.
Is it just the bad backs, or is the blocking?
The O-line's not great either. I mean, they turned out, we talked about this when we did, what's that? Is that spread your wings and fly? Right? That's the team over under. Spread your wings and fly. I mean, they have 2 rookie starters up front, and then that group got injured, so there were lots of moving parts along the offensive line, and they just have not been good, certainly to their standard of what you've come to expect from a Dallas offensive line. And so, they have had struggles both in the run game and in pass protection, but this run game is not dangerous right now.
Okay. Let's flip sides of the ball.
Okay.
And if you want to start up front, I know certainly the opinion in Dallas, and it was the opinion heading into the season, is that as much as they didn't address a weak running back position, they did even worse at defensive tackle.
Yep.
Probably the worst interior defensive line in the league.
Yeah.
Despite having used the first-round pick on Mozzie Smith, who has not been very good.
No, Mozzie Smith has not been very good. And not only did they not address defensive tackle, but then they lost so much depth at defensive end and didn't really do a ton to bolster that depth. And then they were tested early on because they lost DeMarcus Lawrence, they lost Micah Parsons, Sam Williams got hurt in the summer, and so right off the bat they lost their top 3 defensive ends. Their 4th guy, Marshawn Nealon, the 2nd-round pick, he got hurt a couple weeks ago, and so the defensive line has really struggled. And to me, I was kind of putting my thoughts together on this defense a couple days ago and thought, okay, last year and really over the last few years with Dan Quinn, this was a defense that was built on quick pressure, a lot of speed on the field, especially up front, but they wanted to impact the quarterback, force the ball out fast, and that's where you had Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland and those guys just jumping routes and creating turnovers. But it was all based on that quick pressure. I was looking at a stat from Next Gen Stats. They're 21st in quick pressure rate this year, and to me, that's a huge reason why you're not getting the sack production, but also the turnover production. I mean, Trayvon Diggs leads them right now with 1 pick. They don't really have anybody else that's creating big plays on the back end. They're getting toasted in man-to-man coverage. It's a bad group right now. Defensively, the numbers are actually worse than the offense, and I don't think I would have guessed that coming into the year. Obviously, injuries have had a big toll for that, but I think when you look at this group, I mean, they are struggling in a big way.
So, I mean, is this just line it up and run it down their throats?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where, you know, the run game travels, and you can say all those old axioms with the run game. They should be able to go into this game and bully the Dallas Cowboys up front. I mean, when you look at the teams that they played, San Francisco and Detroit, last week against Atlanta, a lot of these teams that they've gone up against, New Orleans going all the way back to earlier this season, they were able to push the Cowboys around up front. And so I think that it would stand to reason that the Eagles should be able to do this in this game.
Now, schematically,
Yep.
Just like the Eagles, they have gone through a scheme change. Zach's boy, Dan Quinn, boy, did he call that.
Yep.
Has been very good in Washington. They bring in Mike Zimmer. We expect maybe a little sprinkling of some sugar on the A-gap. But where are they in that transition process? How different is this defense?
It's definitely different. I mentioned last year and under Dan Quinn, it was a lot of speed on the field. I mean, they would play in their dime defense basically. It was every down, and they ended up moving Bell, their second-year safety, who was a 210-pound safety, and they started just calling him a linebacker because that's just how they were playing. Now they're second in the league in base defense percentage. They always play with 3 linebackers on the field. And basically the way I summed up those linebackers against the run, so you have DeMarvion Overshown, who's a second-year player out of Texas. He's 6'3", like 215, 220 pounds, really long and skinny. A Keenan Clayton, perhaps, if you want to go dig deep into Eagles lore, just in terms of a body type standpoint. But he's really light. He misses tackles. So he struggles against the run in that way. When you look at Eric Kendricks, I mean, obviously, Father Time has kind of taken his toll there. So he's a lot slower than he was certainly in his prime. And then
still looks like Jason Segel, though.
Yes, still has that going for him. So we'll see if he can turn that into
Jason Segel fan.
Shrinking season 3. And then Maris Lufau.
Interesting. Not Shrinking.
Oh, I love Shrinking. Shrinking is a
Okay.
great show.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a great show.
I haven't done season 2 yet.
I haven't either.
I haven't done season 1 yet.
It's really good.
But I really enjoyed Jason Segel. Do you know he was high school basketball teammates with Jason and Jaron Collins?
No.
Yeah, Harvard Westlake.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
All right, so Maris Lufau is the third linebacker there, a rookie third-round pick from Notre Dame, and he's just really green. He's a rookie linebacker, playing his first action in the NFL, and so teams have consistently been able to, get to the second level. The defensive tackles are getting pushed around. The corners are not tackling well right now. I've been a fan of Trayvon Diggs going back to Alabama, and even though he's been kind of a lightning rod player because people would say, oh, he gives up big plays, but he also gets the interceptions. I would say this year he's having his worst year. I know he's dealing with a calf injury that he hasn't practiced this week. I don't think he practiced last week, but didn't miss a snap against Atlanta on Sunday. So he's playing through something, but it looks it on film. He's just not moving the way that he normally would, and the tackling has been terrible on the outside for them. So I mean, this is a game I think where you go in. You do see some of the double A gap pressure stuff. They'll do some of that, not as much as you would think. It's not the classic Zimmer from that standpoint, but they do blitz a decent amount. You've got to be ready for the blitz looks. The big thing is Micah Parsons looks like he's going to be coming back. And so you have to have a plan for Micah Parsons in this game, making sure that you handle him. We know that you could trust Lane Johnson one-on-one, but you still want to make sure that number 11 doesn't beat you.
So what do you think that process is like? I mean, obviously the Eagles have gone through this process with Micah Parsons before. Sometimes there was the famous game when it was like, we're not going to block him, we're just going to read him. It's not that easy anymore. What different things have we seen them do to handle Micah Parsons?
Run game. So you would try and run at him as often as you can, and I would expect that would be something that they'll give him a heavy dose of the run game. I think he has gotten better against the run over the last couple of years. I mean, that's actually one of the things that stood out as I was going through the numbers last night for the sheet. I mean, Micah Parsons, despite missing the last 4 games, he is still number 1 on their team in pressures, and he's 4th in run stops.
Wow.
Despite missing 4, like half the season essentially for this team. I mean, that's DeMarcus Lawrence was also he's up there in terms of he leads the team in sacks. He's missed 5 games.
That's crazy.
This team has just not been able to create big plays.
The idea of running at him is not just that he may not be great as a run defender; it's that you're also wearing him down for when he does have to pass.
Exactly,
right?
And just trying to take him out of the game best you can, put as many hits on him as you can from that standpoint. So I think that's something that they'll do. You want to lean into the quick game. The Eagles have been better with the quick game this season than in years past, so I would expect that we'll see more of that. I think that and the play action element, that's something that they'll try and do as well, just to kind of keep him on his toes if they're able to assert themselves on the ground. I actually think that last week I said against Jacksonville, hey, you know what? Like, the big plays will come against the secondary. You just be patient. You don't need to get greedy. To me, with this Dallas team, the state of this Dallas team right now, I think the Eagles should go in there and be aggressive early. I think this is a front-running team where you go if they can get down, you get up on them early. I think you can really basically not make them quit, but essentially you can get them, kind of say, all right, here we go again. This game's done. So I would do that early.
Kind of a classic Joe Banner game plan.
Yes,
that'd be a good game plan. I want to flow something by you that I saw from our friend Jeff Kavanaugh.
You think the Eagles should cut Quinyon Mitchell?
No, Jeff Kavanaugh didn't say that.
I know, I'm sticking on Banner.
Oh, I don't think Joe Banner ever said they should cut Quinyon Mitchell either. Jeff. So he is the host on the DLLS show.
Does a great job.
And I saw a theory from him that I hadn't thought about before he put it out there. And that's Jerry Jones didn't expect the Cowboys to be that good this year and didn't want to throw all this money into this team this year and kind of wanted this to be almost like a resetting year, if that makes sense. Do you see any validity to that? Because they didn't, they were not active last offseason at all.
No.
And it might be because it was like a gap year, if you will.
I would say that there would be validity to that, and Jeff would know better than me, obviously. The only thing is that he said multiple times that they were all in this year.
Yeah.
So like to me,
but he wants to sell.
Of course, but like I think that in years past we've seen him be honest about like the state of a team and when they're trying to, hey, we need to get better here or there. We're clearly behind the Eagles or behind the whatever. That's the only thing that doesn't pass the sniff test for me from that standpoint.
And big picture wise, that defense. I mean, Dana has talked about this a couple weeks ago that the Eagles were going to face a slate of very bad defenses.
Yep.
I mean, continues.
This is a bad
30th
defense.
in EPA per drive. Like this is a really bad group. Now, getting Micah Parsons back changes things.
That certainly will help them. But to your point, I mean, they're 31st in points per game. They're 27th in turnovers per game. They're last in red zone defense. They're 30th in EPA per play. They're 29th in DVOA. They're 25th in series conversion rate. They're 30th in touchdown drive percentage. That's like a bad defense right now in terms of the way that they're playing.
He had Mike Zimmer had a Todd Bowles moment recently that I appreciated. And he was asked about a comment Trayvon Diggs made that they're still learning the scheme. And Zimmer was like, you have to ask him. He was running man on that play, right? Basically, like when Todd Bowles was like, it was a high school defense. So it doesn't seem like things are going that swimmingly in Dallas this year.
No.
But looking forward to getting down there. Always enjoy that stadium.
All right, Zach, I have a couple of questions for you about the coordinators and what they said this week after this break. How's that leaky pipe doing over there? Well, if it's still leaking, the good folks at Ace Hardware Home Services can help you out, and they are around the block with everything you need to fix it, including the person to do the fixing. If you've got an air conditioning issue, we got a person for that. A faucet that you said you'd fix last fall, still haven't done it, they got a person for that too, because now Ace is not just the helpful hardware folks, they're also the helpful home service and repair folks. From plumbing to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services, we're bringing helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store now to your front door. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
Speaking of projects, I'll talk about our friends at CJAM Construction, where they specialize in those.
We should start calling CJ Gardner-Johnson CJAM Gardner-Johnson.
I think that I don't know if he would like that one.
Yeah, he's going to be mic'd up this week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was the word in the locker room yesterday.
Oh,
good intel.
This should be entertaining.
CJAM.
All right, so CJAM Construction, a family-owned home remodeler specializing in those big projects, the decks, the bathrooms, the flooring. And when you're dealing with those big projects, they can be daunting for a lot of different reasons. There is so much to worry about when you're talking about the quality of the work that's being done, the pricing. You're trying to spec out all the different quotes from all the different contractors. You're worried about the timeliness and the flexibility and everything there. When my wife and I, when we moved into our current house, we wanted to start a tradition of like doing a Halloween party, big Halloween party every year. Mm-hmm. And so we did it the first year, we did it last fall. And this year, this summer, the deck started to wear down, some soft spots in the deck. And so we were like, I don't know if we can do the Halloween party this year just because I don't want to risk anything. It's not like a big fall. I don't want to step through that. And so we're like, that's something we'll have to put it on the shelf. When you have something going on with the bathroom, that's a daunting thing. I don't know if we're almost embarrassed to have people over because there's an issue going on with the bathroom. Same thing with flooring. So when you have a company like CJAM Construction and you feel good about all the decision-making process, look, their goal is to help clients alleviate the challenges and all the frustrations that come with home remodeling. So all of those anxious thoughts that you've got about those big projects, you can throw them out the door. Be sure to mention PHLY to receive 15% off when you call in 856-329-2933. Again, that number, 856-329-2933. About your next home project, see their full selection of luxury vinyl plank flooring and learn more about the products and warranties on their website, cjamconstruction.com/flooring.
All right, Swooper Sorecasting still to come and some more insight on the coordinators. But before we do that, let's check out the Super Chats that we have. First from Alex, who says, the ZB election stream isn't showing up in podcast feeds. Find it.
Yeah, no, I was tuned in to coverage. But
No,
I did not provide coverage
Daniel
myself.
Plainview says, a new commander has come to Washington with the intent of locking his opponents up. How terrified should the Eagles be of Marshawn Lattimore?
Well, Marshawn Lattimore is a really good player. Now he's dealing with some soft tissue injuries this year, so we need to see how he is going into next week. But I don't want to say that was made with the Eagles in mind. They haven't been able to cover number one receivers all year, Washington. But certainly it changes the complexion of that matchup when you look at that defense having Lattimore. And like Bo said earlier, I think he said this earlier this week. It really slots Benjamin St-Juste into more of a natural number two job instead of him being the top guy.
Of all the trades in the last 2 weeks in the NFL, that's the one I like most for the team acquiring the player.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that one
likely to make the biggest impact.
Yes, I think so.
And then finally, Andrew says he moved to anger stage about Albert O, then heard the story about ZB taking Apple Store class to learn to take better iPhone pics. Made him laugh out loud, never changed ZB.
I don't recall that story. I did
Neither
go.
do I.
I went to an Apple Store class.
Jamie was talking about it yesterday. I think, did you tell him that you went to go?
Not for photos.
No.
I took the Apple Store has these. I'm giving them free ads, I suppose. They do these workshops on Saturdays where they teach you different things with iPads and computers and phones, and they're free classes. And it's great. So I take my kids to them. I want my kids to be well versed in coding and
Smart.
really digitally up to. So Bo's gonna lie. I believe technologies. I believe it's gonna be so ubiquitous when they're older that there's this expression about AI that you're not gonna lose your job to AI. You're gonna lose your job to the person who knows how to use AI, right? And so I want my kids to be well versed in technology. So we have gone to Apple classes, but I haven't gone to Apple classes on photos. I have watched YouTube. Stuff about I've watched a lot of YouTube things about iPhone photos. I gotta say a lot of it has to do not with me, but where I am relative to the
passing the buck.
No, it's like the phone's not designed to take a photo of someone on 95 right now, right? And it's not apples for apples, but I'm quite a distance away from Sean Desai. What I've learned since that Sean Desai photo last year in Seattle is zooming in and taking the photo does not. It's not the
it's
way
not the
to
distance.
go.
I mean, other beat writers are taking photos.
Their photos aren't that much better, except Chris Franklin. Chris Franklin from NJ.com has has a phone with a great camera. And
it's the biggest phone I've ever seen.
And he is this thing. If this is a Pruder film was taken with this, we would know everything, right? Now I've done a lot of research on how to take better photos, and I promise you, my press box photos will be better this year, and they have been. And I've continued to kind of learn different things, but I haven't specifically gone to the Apple class on photos. My children know how to.
So how did he hear that story?
He's spreading rumors, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I said I did research on it. I didn't go to. I might have spoken to someone at the Genius Bar about that, but
it's just making its way around.
No,
sicko gossip.
No, I'll go into the Apple Store or Best Buy whenever I'm whenever I'm around one, and there have been times when I've spoken to people at the Genius Bar about, hey, I've been taking photos. Is there a way I can zoom in better? Things like that. But I haven't gone.
I'm sure with no context that they are not creeped out by this question whatsoever.
And then I ask them about how they take their photos and things like that. So yeah, I've had great conversations at the Genius Bar before.
I don't have it in there. To
You can learn a
really-
lot about people when you're naturally curious
anything
in
on
them and how they think and how they operate. Yeah, I think that's my advice to everybody.
I mean, do it for yourself. I don't think you need to. I don't know if that's advice for everybody, but
Oh no, I would give that advice to everyone. Is that you can learn about the way people think just by engaging with them, right?
It's true. I do think that's true.
Curiosity, I think, is better than persuasion often.
I do appreciate your restraint.
I guess I don't have it in me. Okay. What did Kellen Moore say this week, Zach?
We spoke since Kellen Moore.
Okay.
But I mean, he said so. Kellen Moore, he kind of downplayed the Cowboys angle
Yep.
of this. He said it's like anyone else going up against their former team. He knows a lot of people there. Kellen Moore was speaking about he was excited about that touchdown run, the 3rd and 17. It was kind of framed to him. You were excited. He's like, yeah, well, it's 3rd and 17. You don't kind of call that play to be as successful as it was, but that was something that they saw on film during the week. He spoke about Cooper Rush during his time there. He said he doesn't remember being in a game with like that many spectacular plays in a game. And when you think about it, there's like, I wrote about this in my story Monday. There's like 3 or 4 stories there that were, I'm sorry, 3 or 4 plays that were like the best play that players made. So that was some of the, he spoke about the collaborative effort. I've been trying to dig more into the quarterback sneak thing this week. No one's really giving anything.
Yeah.
Kellen didn't. Jalen didn't. Players on the O-line didn't. So I don't have much as far as why it didn't work, but I don't think the Eagles should abandon it.
And then I know that we have talked. Maybe I just blacked out the Tuesday show,
Yeah.
but the clip of you asking Vic Fangio about the Zach Bond scouting process, I've seen it been going around.
Yeah. And I'm going to work on something. It won't be this week. Next week's a short week, so it won't be out next week. But
Well, that's relative.
It's a short week.
I said good joke. But then Thursday, or I'm sorry, the following week will be. I should have a story more on the linebackers. And by the way, if you want to read about the linebackers, Fran has a great film review yesterday that I really enjoyed.
Thank you.
But how they turned Zach Bond into a linebacker. I've had something in my mind going back to the summer, and I thought Bo put it better than anyone has put it in the Philly media or anywhere. Is that the Saints had 4 years to evaluate him. The NFL had all this time to evaluate him.
No doubt.
He is awesome. He is a really good player. I mean, I don't want to get overboard because it's been 8 games, but he's been out. He's had one game that I thought was a bad game. That was week 2.
Atlanta game, yep.
Yeah. And he kind of learned quickly and he adjusted. He got off blocks since then. He's all over the field. And so I want to delve more into like how they identified it. And so that question to Vic Fangio was, he said people can be lazy in this league just by going with groupthink, right? And it's real easy around the draft to say, well, this guy's rated like here. This is how teams are viewing him. Vic said he's never looked at it that way. Now, sometimes you shouldn't have like such conviction in your opinions because there's a lot of smart people evaluating someone else, but or somehow else. But I think that Vic Fangio was spot on when it came to Zach Bond, and I think Bobby King, as Nick Sirianni spoke about yesterday, he's done a good job developing both those guys. Nakobe Dean's playing better this year than he did the past 2 years. Nick spoke about Bobby King's like attention to fundamentals, how there was something that came up in a game. Nick didn't want to mention what it was, but in this game this past weekend, and Bobby King said, "I'm thinking about how we can drill it this week." And Bo asked a good question to Nick, like, "Are you getting better coaching from your position coaches this year?" And Nick didn't want to compare it, but I think the answer is very obviously yes.
I mean, that's what they were banking on.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And to be fair, I mean, if I had asked the longer version of that question, it's like that should have been expected because it was you're backfilling at the end of the hiring cycle.
Exactly.
Of course, you had fewer guys to choose from, so it would stand to reason that you're getting better production there, but I mean, it does seem to be sort of playing out that way. It's like this is what we've talked about. The defense, especially, is sort of proving the Eagles' offseason theory correct so far.
Yeah, you're right. Now, I'm always conflicted when it comes to talking about experienced coaches because every coach needs to have experience to become experienced, right? So I don't think, well, just because this guy was a position coach before or a coordinator before, he's a better hire than someone who has not been. That said, last year they had a very inexperienced staff, and like Bo mentioned, part of that was from the time that they hired. But I don't think, linebacker coach, DB coach had never been a position coach in the NFL.
NFL, yep.
This year they have not their D-line coach is not just someone who's been a position coach, but he's been a defensive coordinator. Bobby King's been a position coach for almost a decade in the NFL. Christian Parker was a position coach with the Broncos before. So there's more experience at all three levels that I think is proving beneficial.
In the middle of this whole conversation, Fran is just chatting back and forth with this guy, Carl Shelton, who used to work for him at Temple.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Carl.
It's cool.
I always check in on the chat throughout the show.
Love it. All right, you guys ready for Swooper?
Always.
Let's do it.
All right, our Swooper update. I took it down last weekend. Paid a lot for it.
Yeah.
But I did make it happen, and so now I am just a half point behind Fran. Fran's at 3.33. I'm at 2.83, and Zach is down at 0.83. As for the turkeys, I enter with just 16 turkeys this week, -8. Zach has an extra 6, so he starts with 30, and Fran has an extra 12, so he starts with 36 turkeys. The order for us this week is Zach, and then me, and then Fran, and then Deniz for submissions, and away we go to Zach.
So my first one is actually a recommended submission. I received a DM this week. I'm going to give proper credit.
Photos included or no?
No. This was from listener Mark or viewer Mark. Mark, thank you very much. We appreciate you tuning into the show.
Debatable.
It's not up for debate for me. I appreciate you tuning into the show. The Eagles rush for more yards than the total yardage of Brandon Aubrey's made field goals.
Okay. That's a good.
You don't like that one?
That's a cool one.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's like I thought it was going to be some kind of game theory thing interesting. This guy just had an idea.
Yeah. The message was, I'll pull this up. He said, Zach, unsolicited Swooper idea.
Okay.
And I said, good one, exclamation point. And I'm using it on the show. I read every DM, comment, everything you sent. So please keep doing it.
Please.
All right, so let's the bidding start
and I'll
on
start
Mark's.
the bidding on one.
So Eagles rushing yards over.
He mentioned Saquon, but I have another Saquon one later. That was actually another recommendation from people.
The total yardage of Brandon Aubrey's made field goals.
Brandon Aubrey's got quite the leg, as we all know.
Okay.
Also served in jury duty this year.
I'm jealous.
You're jealous of serving in jury duty?
Yeah, I've always wanted to be on a jury.
I've never been on a jury.
But you haven't been picked, or you've been...
Yeah,
you've been like we did through.
I've called. I've been called, but not made the jury.
Can I give one quick jury duty story that actually ties into PHLY in a very tangential way? I broke the story of Vinny Curry re-signing with the Eagles while waiting for jury duty. But I was getting a call from a source, and I couldn't answer the call. Okay, and so I always try to answer the. So I had to text like, "Sorry, I'm in jury duty. Otherwise, I would answer your call." And this was the type of thing where, like, I don't know if the person wanted to put it over text, and so I had to figure out a way. So I went to the bathroom and called from the bathroom. Yeah.
Is it a violation of jury duty though? To take a call mid.
I don't think you're allowed to be on your phone while you're in the waiting area.
In the waiting area.
Why would I be so scared to put Vinny Curry as re-signing over text?
I mean, we can get to that later. But we can get to that later.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you starting the bidding at?
One. That's one.
Okay.
2.
2 to Fran.
3.
3 to Bo.
4.
4 to Fran. Oh, 4 to Zach. Is that Zach?
Yep.
Okay.
5.
5 to Fran.
6.
Ooh. 6 to Zach.
I wonder if that's a felony. The phone call during jury duty.
Oh, the call goes back to that one commenter.
Yeah, the commenter was right.
I hope not. Maybe I didn't answer the call. Maybe I just went and texted
Maybe.
In the
in the
bathroom.
bathroom. It could have been that, yeah.
All right. 6
7.
to Fran. Ooh, 7.
Wow.
7 to Fran.
It's going to take a lot of field goals. But
Yeah.
7 to Fran going once.
I want to save my. This is
7 to Fran going twice.
8.
Oh, 8 to Zach.
You can have it for 8.
Okay. Now I'm down to 22.
All right, so
Okay.
I'm next, right?
no, I'm next.
Ah, okay. Sorry.
All right. My first submission, as I pull it up. Will Shipley outgains Kenny Gainwell from scrimmage? Do we think
Ooh.
there's a chance that the Eagles are a little frustrated with Kenny Gainwell production and maybe turning the needle up on Will Shipley as the backup to Saquon Barkley? There's also a possibility that this game is so lopsided that they lean on
That's the
Shipley
big one, yeah.
late in the game. I will start the bidding at 2.
2 to Bo.
I'll take it for 3.
3 to Fran.
I haven't seen that. I can't read it.
3 to Fran going once. Going
You're not
twice.
going in more?
Oh, you
Yes.
want to go on 4?
I'm sitting this one out. I need
Yeah.
to save my turkeys.
Wow. Good
I'll
one.
take- I'll
Good one,
take-
Fran.
Take it for 3. All right, so I ended up doing mine a little thematically this week.
Oh,
So all of them are based off of movie titles.
okay.
So the first one,
Ooh, I like this.
the Ocean's 11 item.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie. One of the 11 movies that Zach has seen. Micah Parsons, who wears number 11 for the Dallas Cowboys, does not record a sack in this game. Half sacks count. So if he gets a half sack, that obviously does not count. But Micah Parsons does not record a sack. He did say Wednesday there was a high chance that he plays on Sunday after missing the last 4 games with that high ankle sprain. As we mentioned earlier, he is practicing in full pads here on Thursday. So it certainly looks like he will be playing in this game. Parsons had 1 sack in 4 games this season, still leads the team in pressures. He had 2.5 sacks in 2 games against the Eagles last year, was shut out in the 2 games the year before. So
this is Ocean's 11 just because Micah Parsons
Number 11,
wears
that's
number
it.
7.
yeah, there are other ones that have that are a little bit better later. I'm working my way
It's a
up.
bit of a reach.
Yeah, I'm working my way up. Julia can
You
attest.
know, there could be a heist involved. 11 people, but just number 11. Okay.
There's 11 guys on a football field.
I like that.
You're starting it at 1.
Starting it at 1, yeah.
Doesn't have a sack.
Does not get a sack.
2.
2 to Bo.
3.
He doesn't have to play, right?
What's that?
He doesn't have to
If
play.
he does, yeah. I mean, if he doesn't play, then he doesn't get a sack. Yep.
5.
Ooh, 5 to Bo.
5. Hmm.
5 to Bo going once. Going twice.
Nothing for Zach. I'll let you can have it for 5.
No.
Good one. Let's go for 5.
See what the professor has.
Okay, item number 4.
The Eagles run at least 6
Cool.
plays of under center play action. The Eagles still use under center play action the least of any NFL team, but they did run 5 such plays last week. So the item is that they run at least 6 against Dallas.
Okay.
I'll say 1.
1 to Bo.
2.
2 to Fran.
We have a chatter who has no idea what's going on here, which I appreciate. This is a game, a season-long game in which the 3 of us.
Should I read the rules from last week ago?
Yeah.
Ben, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you. Thank you.
Do you want to read them?
For
the audio listeners,
it's a prediction game. We're betting on what we think are outcomes that are gonna bidding on outcomes that we think may or may not happen, and we come up with them. And it's just a little extra juice when you're watching the game.
For the audio listeners, Ben says, new here. Can someone explain what's happening? LOL. Love this pod, though. Glad I discovered. We're glad you discovered it as well, too.
Yeah,
Ben.
welcome, Ben.
All right. You have a bid for 2 here?
2, yeah.
2 to Fran.
At least 6 under center play action.
2 to Fran going once.
2, anything.
2 to Fran going twice.
You're going to let him have it for 2?
You're also allowed
You're
to bid.
allowed to bid.
I
You do have twice as many turkeys.
I bid
as he
8 on
does.
the first item, and
I have 11 turkeys. You have 22, Zach.
Yeah.
If you care about it, then bid.
I just don't have a strong feeling on this to allocate any resources to it.
All right.
Sounds like I got it for 2.
Yeah. Brand's crushing it again.
All right, I am up here. Josh Sweat records a sack. Josh Sweat has 5 sacks in the past 5 games. He did not have a sack 2 weeks ago, but he had 2 sacks last week. So, and then the previous 3 games he had a sack. So Josh Sweat, who's been a streaky player in his career, if you recall last year, the last sack he had was actually in that
Dallas,
Cowboys game before the bye week.
The home game, yep.
So I will start the bidding at 1.
And thank you to Zach Berman for DMing himself this suggestion.
Yeah, no, this one's not a DM. The next one was, I'll explain the backstory for the next one, too.
Now, this is important clarification. This is a full sack.
Oh, good one. I didn't specify. What do you guys think?
You said a sack.
Zeros, yeah.
All right, so it has to be a full sack, sure.
Full sack.
Full sack.
Or 2 halves.
Or 2 half. Yeah, it has to be a 1.
Has to be
at
a
least
1
a
in the
1
box score.
in the box score. So I'll start the bidding at 1.
He'll be going up against the rookie left tackle, first round pick Tyler Guyton.
Player who was a possible Eagles pick at one
Possible
point in time.
Eagles pick,
What do you
yep.
make of Guyton?
Really athletic.
Weird body.
Yeah, he's still very green, and a little bit raw, but really good flashes in pass pro. I kind of like the matchup for Sweat.
Okay.
I do like the matchup there. I think Sweat will find ways to be able to test his anchor. I think Sweat has gotten really good with his hands over the years, and that could be where you can try and attack a rookie. So I kind of like that matchup.
Okay.
I'll go 2.
2 to Fran.
3.
4.
3 to oh, 4 to Fran. Ooh.
Nah, it's beyond my means. Here. You want to get into this, Bo?
Not really.
Okay.
Sold to Fran.
Going to be for 4.
You got it?
Yep.
Zach, that's your boy.
I know, but there's a lot of items
You can't
left.
spend more than 4 turkeys.
He spent 8. All right, my next one. We talked about this earlier. Jalix Hunt plays a defensive snap in the first 3 quarters of this game.
Oh, first 3 quarters. Ooh, this is a good
That's
one.
a good one.
I will start the bidding at 2.
Oof.
2 to Bo.
I was going to bid 2. 3.
What is Calyx? Calyx. It auto-corrected me when I tried to do a type in Jalix.
It's the sepals of a flower.
Nice.
The hell is a sepal?
What?
The sepal is each part of the calyx of a flower,
Got it.
enclosing the petals and typically green and leaf-like.
Got it.
Yeah.
Inside and see all the sepal. And nobody's bidding more than 2?
3, I said.
You're going 3.
Yeah, I said
3 to
3.
Zach. 3 to Zach going once. 3 to Zach going twice.
1 injury, and that can get him in there too.
Do you believe what they
I think you're at the.
She hasn't said it.
Sold to Zach for 3.
There you go. Man, 11 turkeys from Zach this early.
I know. Yeah. I think I overbid on the first one, but.
All right.
All right.
All right. I hope this one fits your creativity, meets your creativity benchmark. All right. My next one, the ET item.
The Hunt for Red October. somebody mentions the word October. I don't know.
The ET.
Philip Hunt makes a play.
Yeah. The ET item. The Eagles get a sack off of a stunt in this game. And the ET being a type of stunt here from the Eagles. So I think I have some numbers here. All right, give me a sec. The Cowboys are 20th in pressure rate allowed and 26th in sack rate allowed off of stunts so far this year. I would say anecdotally, they have had some issues protecting against stunts. The Eagles are 3rd in pressure rate, but just 29th in sack rate off of stunts so far this year. We know they've had a couple sacks off of stunts in the last few weeks, but overall in the season has not been great. I'll start the bidding at 2.
2 to Fran.
Now, what if, as a celebration, like someone does the Joe Horn thing, and like gets a phone out, and it's like they're phoning home? Does that count?
No, I would say it's got to be come off a sack, or off a stunt.
Pieces aren't going to do anything.
No.
Okay.
Francis threw he threw a fit the other day. He's trying to leave my brothers. He wanted to stay, have fun. We just watched ET as a family the first time a couple weeks ago. Loved it. Okay. Watched it like 3 times in 4 days. So we said, "Oh, Francis, like, how could we have helped you in that moment? Like, you were really upset trying to leave. Like, how could we have helped you?" And so he said, in ET, when they lay out the Reese's Pieces, if you could just lay out buffalo chicken, that would make me calm down. He likes buffalo chicken pizza. So you saying the Reese's Pieces thing made me think of that.
That's funny.
He's got a refined palate. That's a little spicy for a young man.
That's actually the first like adult food he ever had was a Super Bowl party, buffalo chicken right off the table.
My kids are the opposite. Anything that has like a little bit of spice on it, they can't go with. So if you get they love chicken nuggets, right, or chicken tenders.
Sure.
But if you get a chicken tender that has a little spice on it,
that's it. We're out.
Yeah, they're very bland in that regard. We got to work on that.
Yeah, he likes a buffalo chicken pizza.
Spice up their life a bit. Yeah.
What's the bidding here?
2 for me.
2 to Fran.
Now Bryce Huff almost got home on a.
He certainly did
last week.
Yeah. And Josh Sweat did get home on one last week.
Full sack?
I guess. Yes, it would be a yes. Correct.
Sack.
Yep.
I'll say 3.
4.
4 to Fran.
No, Zach's not in. All right, I'll take it.
So I sold.
Fran is cleaning up, and he's not having to pay a lot of money.
I mean, you're allowed to bid, Bo.
Yeah, but I don't have that much.
All right. I mean, I'm already down to 19. If I bid 5 on
11,
that,
Zach.
Yeah. If I bid 5 on that, I'd be at 14.
All right.
All right. Item number 8.
The Eagles' defense plays at least 1 snap in dime personnel, and Avonte Maddox does not play any defensive snaps in the game. The Eagles have played at least 1 snap of dime in every game. We know that so far, Avonte Maddox is the dime corner. However, if Darius Slay is back, this is a spot where they could find a way to put Isaiah Rodgers on the field.
All right, I have a question though. So is that 2 separate items? Like like the Eagles play a snap of dime and Avonte Maddox does not play?
Both things have to happen.
Got it. So it's not that they play dime and Maddox doesn't play. They could play dime and it's Keely Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers, but then Maddox plays late in the game.
And wait, can you just flash that one more time, Julie? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So defensive snap. That's what I just wanted to clarify.
Yep.
Okay. Now there's a chance here that the Cowboys, that the Eagles take a big lead and they're playing the bottom of the roster late in the game. You see, that makes me want to stay away from this.
1
to Bo.
But I don't expect the Cowboys to be playing 4 wide that often either. So.
The Cowboys have seen dime at the 3rd highest rate this year.
I'll go. Can't give it to you for 1. I'll go 2.
2 to Zach.
None for me.
2 to Zach going once. Going twice. Sold to Zach.
For 2.
Jeez, what a cheap game this is.
So quick plug here. If you're a diehard, which you should be on allphly.com, you get access to our Discord. Okay? And I think there. So in the Discord, it's a great community. I read it every day. I want to see what people are talking about. I want to see comments about the show, the general feeling about the Eagles. And in the Discord, there was a question. So we're definitely getting Saquon reaches 1,000 yards rushing swooper from ZB this week, right? And so just as, I know Vince, you're watching. Vince is our boss. Vince wants me to be more active in the Discord. I'll be more active in the Discord. But just as a sign that I'm reading the Discord. And I also want to point out, by the way, that on the Eagles Entertainment, they do a great job, right? They had a week, like behind the scenes of a week in the Eagles. And they caught me, they were doing something from the press conference. And they caught me from behind at the press conference. My laptop was up. And I was worried, like, what's on the screen? Is there a text message? Is there an email, right? And so I pause it, and I zoom in, and the Discord's up. So I think that's awesome, right? It's evidence that I'm reading the Discord. But so this item is Saquon Barkley reaches 1,000 yards. He needs, I believe, 75 yards to do so. And I will start the bidding at 1.
Just rushing.
Yes, he becomes a 1,000-yard rusher this year, and it'll be 3 consecutive years that the Eagles would have a 1,000-yard rusher after going from 2014 to 2022 without one.
He needs how many yards?
75.
Okay.
So he's only been below 75 this year once, and that was against Cleveland. Otherwise, his low this year is 84 yards.
5.
6.
Oh, 6 to Fran.
7.
8.
7 to Zach. Oh, 8 to Fran. Ooh.
9.
9 to Zach.
10.
10 to Fran.
What do I have left here?
You have 17 left.
Yeah. 11.
12.
Ooh.
Oh. 12 to Fran.
I can't bid.
12 to Fran going once.
13.
14.
Oh.
You
14
can
Fran.
have it at 14.
Ooh, so
Classic
to
quick return.
Fran.
Gets Zach. All right, Fran's at
So this is what
9 left.
This is the item that made me want to do the
Hold on,
movie.
it's mine.
Oh,
I gotta go first.
good call.
All right, this is a series of star-related possibilities in the game.
Oh,
A player is tackled on the star, or a field goal is made from the star,
so like the ball's held on the star logo.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
or there is a fight on the star.
Got it.
And that does not have to be during the game.
Does it start or end on the star? The fight.
At any point.
any point,
the fight, one of the two or however many participants has a foot on the star.
If a guy just shoves a guy, does that count as a fight?
It's completely up to my discretion.
Your discretion, not the winner's.
Correct.
Okay.
And for longtime viewers of the show, you know that the star is actually relatively small for midfield star. The Giants have this huge Giants helmet now. They used to have the NFL logo. Now they have this huge Giants helmet. The star is only between the 45s. And if you think about the surface area of a star, there's not a lot of space there.
Can I tell you my least favorite thing about this stupid stadium?
It's not a stupid stadium, but go on.
Oh, I disagree. So the TV angle, right? The TV cameras are on one side, but the film and the all 22 angles are on the opposite sideline.
So it messes up.
Oh, it's so jarring because you're used to seeing all these replays of this play going right to left, but then from the other angle, it's left to right.
That's tough.
I mean, what are we doing here? Make a little bit of space for the all 22 cameras next to the broadcast cameras.
Starting the bidding at 1.
And the shadows suck.
Cleanest floors of any stadium you'll ever see.
Two?
2 to Fran.
I'm not going for 3 on that one.
So there just needs to be a tackle on the star.
Yeah.
So if there's
What was
a
it?
tush push at the star.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tackle on the star, fight on the star, field goal on the star.
But if you think about where the hash marks are, that makes it a little more. But if they lean left, they like to go left on those tush pushes. I'll go 3. Why not?
3 to Zach.
I don't feel comfortable with the field goal, but I think a tackle on the star would make sense.
Aubrey.
Yeah.
Aubrey, you can make field goals from that. You can have it for 3.
Sold to Zach for 3.
We have a super chat who tells us that the Philly film room, they showed videos of the failed tush pushes and demonstrated that the Jags linebackers were tush pushing their defensive linemen, which we have seen before.
We've seen before.
They did it effectively.
Yeah, I do think that that's a better strategy than most, but I don't think that that's like that's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the execution wasn't great from the Eagles in that game.
Okay. And by the way, if you were around on Sunday and want to watch the game with some fellow sickos, you can do it at
That's the wrong one.
The Rook in Manayunk. Fran is not going to be there.
No.
We will be here doing the pregame show, but Jamie and Rich will both be in attendance to watch that game. A big NFC East tilt at 4 o'clock. So go check out the watch party at The Rook. All right, let's hear this movie one.
All right, last one for me. The Silence of the Lambs item.
Okay.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, this one plays.
Yeah, well, because I was like, this would be a fun nickname for it. And I was like, I'll see if I can find some other ones. Obviously, the other two didn't meet your creativity benchmark, but here we are. All right.
The ET one is not bad. The ET one's not bad.
Yeah.
The Ocean's 11, I mean, come on.
I was like, all right, popular movies in the 2000s. I was like, Ocean's 11? Yeah, it works for Micah Parsons. All right. CeeDee Lamb catches less than 71% of his targets against the Eagles. So, for some context here, this would have hit in 2 of the last 4 weeks for CeeDee Lamb. It would have hit against Atlanta, only caught 9 of 15 targets. Against Detroit, only caught 7 of 14 targets. Would not have hit the Eagles in the last 4 weeks. Would have hit 2 of 4 against number 1 receivers, Brian Thomas Jr. He caught more than that. Jamar Chase caught more than that. But Malik Neighbors and Amari Cooper were held under 71%. 71 it feels like it's a weird number, but basically I wanted to account for like 70.2%. So I was like, all right, anything under 71 even is the cutoff there.
Okay.
The one thing I did not say earlier in terms of the Cowboys and the pass game with Cooper Rush, he also, when he was in the game in 2022 or in the lineup in 2022, fed the ball to CeeDee Lamb. It was like every game he was in, Lamb had at least 5 catches, had at least like 60 yards receiving. Like they were consistently feeding him the ball in those games as well. We'll start the bidding at 2.
3.
3 to Zach.
What was that?
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I wish you had not brought up Hannibal.
I know. That was my only thing I was thinking about with it. But CeeDee Lamb. The fact that you did it and Zach didn't know, you haven't seen this movie, have you?
I have seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello, Clarice. Right? Is that so? Yeah.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. Steve Kime once had that line that if Hannibal Lecter ran a 4.4, they say he had an eating disorder.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It was a good line.
It was a good
line. line.
Yeah. Is that the line though? Hello, yeah. Hello, Clarice.
Yeah.
I watched that with my grandfather. I remember.
Puts the lotion in the basket.
Mm-hmm.
4 for me.
4 to Fran.
5.
5 to Zach. 5 to Zach going once. 5 to Zach going twice.
6.
Oh, 6 to Fran.
I'll go 7.
Oh, 7 to Zach.
He can take it for 7.
In my fantasy auctions, there's this guy in all my fantasy leagues named Dan. Great guy, brilliant. Like shout
out to Dan.
Dan is awesome, and so my brothers say that like a strategy should be whenever Dan's bidding on a player, like bid on it because that means Dan values the. Unless Dan's like bidding it up for us to bid, but I don't think it's that. He's very selective with it. So when Fran is bidding aggressively, I feel like I should bid because Fran's been money this year.
Okay. As we enter the final swooper from Daniz, it is 7 turkeys left for Zach, 11 for me, and 9 for Fran.
All right, here are the rules.
A double Dutch auction. Julia begins at 25 and slowly counts down 1 turkey at a time until one of the players yells, "Swooper." That player wins item 12 and pays the last number that Julia said. Julia then continues counting down. The next player to yell Swooper wins item 13
Here's the item 13.
and pays the last number that Julia said. The same player can win both items. Players can borrow turkeys from next week to bid. Everybody understand?
Yeah.
Same as a normal Dutch auction, except there are going to be two items at play.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Item
right.
12, I'm guessing, is going to be the Eagles win the game.
Item 12.
Mm-hmm.
Item 13, the Eagles cover the spread. No, item 13, the Eagles win the game with garbage time to spare, meaning that Kenny Pickett plays at least one drive at the end of the game due to the game being in hand.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have to clarify. Let's say that Jalen Hurts is injured during this game. Kenny Pickett comes in, but the game is still then in hand. What will then determine whether the game is in hand or not?
I think item 13 is invalidated if Kenny Pickett goes in because of injury.
Do we do a facsimile no, because I guess Tanner McKee wouldn't. Or
Yeah.
I guess if Jalen
Tanner
left
McKee
the
can
game,
only go in if Kenny Pickett gets hurt.
So then, yeah. Okay.
So I
But
think
the item is not in its essence about Pickett playing. It's about it being a blowout.
So how about this then? If they change the offensive line in front of Pickett,
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they empty
negates,
if they empty the offensive line
Yes.
bench.
Right.
yes.
Okay.
So it's
That's
just
good.
off our. Okay.
That's a good. Okay. All right, everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay. Starting
Fran
now.
9, Zach 7, me 11.
I don't love the idea of adding a 13th item here. I would have budgeted
It's not
differently.
the first time it's happened.
I know.
Alrighty.
Got to save those turkeys up,
Yeah.
just in case.
Now I know.
Okay.
And we're off. 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10.
Swooper.
Oh,
Ooh, I don't know. I actually think that Zach got there first.
Really? Oh wow. Okay.
Now what
I don't
was
know.
that?
I have to go to the tape there. That was 10.
That was
on
a
the
10?
Swooper. That was
10.
10 for the Swooper. Yeah.
I actually think that was Zach.
Oof.
Huh.
I have to go to the
I
tape
could
on that
not
one.
tell. I could not tell.
I mean,
What did the chat think?
you guys could. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's a way to do it where you both get it.
Split it.
So
Chat
we
saying
both
it was
have it for
close.
5 item, or
No,
we
you
both
both have it for
allocate.
Both
10.
have it for 10.
We both,
And you each get a half
We
point.
each get a half point
all
on
right,
it.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, that's fair.
That works for me.
All right.
That's
I mean,
fair.
that was very close. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you both have it for 10.
Okay, so got it.
All right. And you both have it.
Okay.
All right. Now comes the blowout.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Swooper. I'll take it for 3.
It's fine. I'm okay with you getting it.
The chat is very.
The chat
Yeah,
seems to
it's
think
very
it's Fran,
close.
actually.
Well, I don't know.
No, it's
People
split.
It's
Yeah,
split. It's
split.
pretty split. Yep.
That
All
was
right,
close,
so
that was close.
Zach, you have the Eagles as a team run for more yards than Brandon Aubrey's combined field goal lengths. Jalix Hunt plays a snap on defense in the first 3 quarters. The Eagles play a snap of dime, but Avonte Maddox does not play a defensive snap. All those things that could happen on the star. The silence of the Lambs. No Chianti for CeeDee Lamb, and the Eagles win the game. I have no Micah Parsons sack, and the Eagles win the blowout at the end. And that's it. Fran has Will Shipley has more yards from scrimmage than Kenny Gainwell. The Eagles run at least 6 plays of under center play action. Josh Sweat has a full sack. The Eagles get a sack on a stunt. Saquon Barkley reaches 1,000 yards rushing for the season, and the Eagles win the game. And I have 8 turkeys left over. Zach has -3. Fran has -1. There we go.
Here we go.
See if this can be the week Zach gets back on the board.
I hope so. If not, I just wasted a lot of turkeys.
well, worse things have happened. All right, that'll do it.
Wait, can I just show that I put up the wrong graphic earlier, so I just want to show the correct graphic. This is the correct one.
Here we go. The Rook and Manioc this Sunday.
A great time.
11:10, 4 o'clock. Eagles, Dallas. Figures to be a raucous party. Good atmosphere. So thanks to everybody for watching and listening to this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. We will talk to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. The great Daniz joins me in studio. We'll hear from Zach live from the NovaCare Complex. And away we go. So for all of us here at PHLY, thanks for watching and listening. Thank you to Julia. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.